Hi, Shannon here, and I am reporting on my lessons learned from this 655 class and my final project. I came to this class keen to learn about multimedia and produce online content. I had dabbled a little bit in WC3 schools trying to teach myself HTML and CSS, and I was keenly interested in developing more online content. And boy, did we learn how to develop content in this course. My three main takeaways from this course are: number one, watch out for the rabbit hole. You can lose hours and hours of time trying to fine-tune web pages. I'm sure there's some handy-dandy shortcuts that I have yet to learn, but I found that I would become so engrossed in making sure that everything looked the same and appeared the same and that it looked the way that I wanted to, that I lost track of time on so many occasions that my family started to joke about how I was in another world when I was working on my content. Number two, trust yourself. This was a hard lesson to learn because for most of the course I felt really outside of my comfort zone, particularly when we were learning about Adobe products. I felt so overwhelmed. I wanted to apply what we were doing in class, but at the end of the day, in order to actually get content built, it felt more comfortable to go back to what I was comfortable for. At some point, I think I'd like to take a class in Adobe, but it felt really overwhelming to learn all that new technology as well as trying to develop usable content for the class. And so lesson number three, I learned the incredible value of peer review. I was so grateful for everyone's feedback and I implemented it immediately. It's so true that we can really lift each other's content and work with a peer review. It was really nice to receive feedback from people who had great ideas and saw things in a slightly different way than I did, and so I just really appreciate the feedback that I received from you all, so thank you on that. Let's see, I really did enjoy this class, incredibly so. I have learned and grown so much over the course of the semester, and I'm grateful for that opportunity. But boy, I did find it challenging. Now, onto my project. I started this course out with the idea that I wanted to create OER resources for foreign language teachers. The textbook that I use in my own course is over $200, and that feels like a lot of money to ask community college students to invest in. So I thought if I could create some resources I could use for my class, I could save my students some money. The textbook, however, is a wonderful resource. It's super well created, and I knew it was going to be super challenging to try and create something even close to as good. In our first meeting, the idea was given to me to change my focus from students to teachers. And I really appreciate this feedback because it changed the scope of my project and it made it something that felt more achievable and less of an exercise in futility, trying to create something that would never be quite as good as the resources that the textbook company have. So let's take a look. Here's my homepage. I've called it Tech Tips and Tricks, incorporating technology into the foreign language classroom. And this is the homepage that I came up with here. I really appreciated the feedback from my peer reviewers on the banner image, and if you scroll down here, I have an infographic. The infographic is also being used as an H5P interactive exercise. I thought my original designs were okay, but I think they're so much stronger now thanks to the feedback that I received from all of you. I have basic information here about why I'm doing this website, and then I had the idea of creating kind of an outline using this infographic. So each section of the website covers 3 different tools, the first for asynchronous, the second for synchronous, and the third that I'm just calling for added value. In order to round things out, I thought it was necessary to cover particular standards and how I address them in my classroom, and also how to give video and audio feedback, because I think that's also a useful tool. So in the end, I ended up with 5 separate pages. Let's take a look at each one. I decided to put standards first because this is what we really should be trying to achieve, and I've linked through to the ACTFL, the American Council for Teachers of Foreign Language World Readiness Standards. Okay, these are what they suggest that we should be able to teach our students. And then I go into detail down here about how I apply these standards to my class. And this is just a couple example videos. Here's a video made by one of my students based on one of the assignments, and there's a rubric. So it's just to give people ideas other than using multiple choice tests that assess discrete knowledge. It's a chance to kind of bring all of the learning together. The next page that I have is asynchronous, and the 3 texts that I look at are Canvas Studio, and here's a brief video in how to use video discussions in Canvas Studio. I talk about Flipgrid. Most teachers seem to know about Flipgrid now, but it's there. And then also Duolingo. Duolingo is really cool because you can set up a class within there and then track your students' progress. Moving on to synchronous. This is a talk that I gave back in September to my faculty about engagement in Zoom, so I thought I would just use that PowerPoint and create a voiceover for it. The original talk was over an hour, so this is not that, don't worry. And within this we talk about Kahoot, Poll Everywhere, and Miro as the 3 tech tools that people could integrate. I do mention Zoom whiteboards as well, and this is actually a faculty meeting, so it's my colleagues that are in there. I hope they'll think that's funny. Then I move on to feedback. Here's some information about feedback and the audio that I made with a student talking about feedback and how to give feedback in Canvas. The last page is added value. These are just things that people can use to incorporate. I talk about music and the importance of it. I use Edith Piaf in my class, and then I built an H5P that goes over vocabulary and some of the other words to the song. I talk about YouTube and about different podcasts that I link through here to just build learning. I would like to build out more of these blog posts, and as time goes on and tools change, but we'll see how that goes. You always have this bar at the top, so I think the navigation is pretty straightforward. The idea is after you go through everything, you can come here and then try to use which tech tool is best. This is just a drag and drop. You see if they don't go to the right place, they bounce back up to the top. I know the text is a little bit small, that's the only sort of downside on that. But that's it. That's the website that I built. I feel really proud of myself. I really appreciate all the feedback that I received from you in building this, and thank you for your time.